Hey, Dave.
Yeah.
Scientists have just discovered millipedes that used to be as big as cars.
Really?
Yeah, they said that if we ever came face to face with them, then we would never want to go toe to toe to toe to toe to toe to toe to toe.
I don't know, Pete. Your jokes just seem to get worse and worse. And
That's my bad.
Have you done something with your hair or lost weight? You look different.
Nope, just new jumper.
Although strangely, your arms look more masculine today. Obviously, Pete's doing his deep fake today. We've got the AI running at overtime off the Mac Studio in the background there to make Pete look like Erin.
It's going very smoothly.
It is. And in all seriousness, we've had a bit of illness, which is why we missed the podcast last week.
It was very, very sad.
Yes, and Pete's ill again this week. So Erin has very kindly stepped into the breach. She doesn't know what she's letting herself in for.
Nope.
Anyway, welcome to the Constant Geekery podcast. This is season 3, episode 8, I believe.
Episode 8 already.
Well, we say that, but it seems like we should be on higher than episode 8. We've obviously missed a few weeks, so apologies for that, folks. We will endeavour to get our act together. I blame it on moving studio and also Apple doing events.
Yeah, very rude of them.
It is. Shall we do the news, Erin?
Yes.
So, but before we do that, so for anybody who's clicked in, who's new to the Constant Geekery podcast, our general format is that we cover a few news stories. We've got our main topic this week. And this week we're going to be talking about buying your first computer.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting.
Yeah. And we might even have time for some rumours at the end. We'll see.
Exciting.
And when I say some rumours, I mean a rumour. So what's been in the news this week, Erin? Anything of interest?
Well, our first topic is Apple and Netflix pulling out for Will Smith biopic.
Biopic.
Biopic?
I think you say biopic, don't you?
I've always called it biopic.
Biopic. A biographical film, I believe.
Oh, yeah, I guess it is.
Yeah, that's interesting, isn't it? I mean, I didn't know that Netflix and Apple were bidding for the Will Smith biopic. But now we all know that they've stopped bidding for the Will Smith biopic.
It's quite sad.
It is quite sad, actually, because we've all done stuff. In fairness, I've never slapped Chris Rock in the face. But we have all done stuff that in the heat of the moment that we later have cause to regret. And it seems like Mr. Smith is going to pay a high price for this.
Yeah, that's the issue of being in the public eye 24/7.
It is. He will be the not-so-fresh prince now. That was a good joke.
That wasn't a good joke.
Oh, I thought it was good.
Yeah.
Anything else happening in the world of tech, though?
Elon Musk just bought 9.2% of Twitter.
Now, why do you suppose that Elon Musk has done that?
I don't know if it's like a bit of a publicity thing, maybe. And also he's quite on Twitter a lot, isn't he?
He does like to tweet. 9.2% of the company doesn't give him any kind of control over the company. Although he does have quite a lot more than the founder.
Yes, because he's only got 2%.
Really? Wow. But 9.2%, I don't think that gives him the right to call a shareholders meeting or do anything of any note. So why has he done it? Because it was a lot of money.
Yeah.
I mean, he made a lot of money because Twitter's stock price went up 25% afterwards.
That is, it's interesting. I'm not sure why he did, though.
I mean, he's been tweeting about free speech, and he doesn't believe that Twitter is honouring free speech, and we're not going to get into that argument here, but everyone seems to have a different definition of what free speech means. Now, for Elon Musk, I happen to know that, I saw a report, not I happen to know, I don't know, I saw a report that he was asked to remove access to Russian news channels via the Starlink internet system, and they refused.
Right.
So I think Elon Musk's view of free speech is that everybody gets to say something, but I don't think that's how Twitter users perceive it necessarily, because I've seen tweets from people who are complaining about the Russian embassy and the stuff that they're tweeting and asking Twitter to get rid of it and saying this wouldn't happen if Elon Musk built a social network.
Yeah.
But I think they might be disappointed there. Who knows? Possibly he's going to do a buyout, do we think?
Maybe. What's a buyout?
Exactly. Who knows? He might buy Twitter. Why would you do that?
No.
Does Twitter even make any money?
I don't know. I really don't know. I feel it's gotten a lot more popular for some reasons recently, but
it's the sort of thing that we probably should have researched before starting the podcast.
Probably that would have been.
But does Twitter make money? You guys will let us know in the comments section, I'm sure. So, anything else in the news of interest?
Samsung has partnered with iFixit to offer self-repair options for Galaxy devices.
Kind of like Apple are going to do the self-repair thing.
Yes, probably at some point if they ever actually do it.
Yeah, I seem to recall they promised that was going to happen by early 2022.
Yeah.
And what's the date today?
Oh, I don't actually know. It's the...
If only you had a computer in front of you.
Oh. It's the 5th of April.
The 5th of April. Now, would you say that we are early in 2022?
No, I'd say we're almost halfway through 2022.
I feel like you're wishing the year away there, but we're definitely in the second quarter of 2022. So, yeah, where's the repair program, Apple?
I really need it, Apple, please. Please.
Fair enough. Can you imagine you trying to fix an iPhone?
Yeah.
Do you think that you're going to make it look better than what it currently does?
Maybe if they gave me like some glitter glue, I reckon I could do quite a good job on it. It'd be beautiful.
Do you know what I want to know? I want to know if they offer, if Samsung are offering something in their repair scheme that will make their keyboard cover for the S8 tablet not suck.
Oh, that's weird, because I thought you really, really liked that keyboard cover.
Yeah, there might be a review coming on that. I'm giving it away with my facial expression, but well, no, it sucked. It sucks. The keyboard sucks. I saw something in the news about lots of people are tweeting about M1 Pro and M1 Max MacBook Pros. So the new 14-inch and 16-inch MacBook Pros are hitting the Apple Refurb store.
Interesting.
Why do we think that might be?
Well,
lots of returns, obviously, but I've not heard of loads of people saying that they've had faulty.
No.
I mean, there must be some, but...
It's definitely the classic buy it, test it, sell it back kind of thing, isn't it?
You think it's reviewers? I don't know. We say this, and it is a little bit tongue-in-cheek at our fellow YouTubers, but I know some people do it. They do buy, review and return. And do those products then end up on the Refurb store? I suppose they must do. Are all of the products on the Refurb store because people are doing that? I think that's unlikely. I'm sure there must be some faulty ones that get repaired. But how do you feel about that idea of buying something to review it and then returning it?
I might have a slightly different opinion to you guys, and that's because I'm coming at it from when I want to buy new clothes, I'll buy. I
wondered how long it would take. I wondered how long it would take on the podcast before you got round to some sort of fashion comments.
Oh, it's like 80% of my personality.
Okay, so but you know this is a tech podcast.
People will be interested. Okay. So when I go to buy like a bunch of clothes, I'll like buy like them in bulk from like ASOS or something. They come the next day. I'll try them all on. If I don't like them, if I'm not loving them, or if I've tried it on and then like 2 days later I'm like, oh, I'm not going to wear that, I'll just send them back and get all my money back for it.
Okay, so I think that's different to what this is, because if you were in a traditional shopping sense, if you went into the high street, if there were indeed any shops with any stock in anymore, you could go in and try on clothes, find something that fits.
And then not.
So all you're doing is you're changing that to a mail order process, which has been done for decades. So I don't think that's the same thing as buying something, using it for a month, and then returning it.
Yeah.
I mean, you get this kind of phenomenon. People who work in electronics stores will tell you this. Before big sports events like the FA Cup or the Super Bowl in America, folks will go and buy big screen TVs, and then the following week they seem to get returned.
Interesting.
Or you'll have situations where people will go and buy a camera, take it on holiday, take photos, and return it at the end. Now, is that the same as buying it, reviewing it, returning it? I don't know.
I guess that was a bit more cheeky, actually. Yeah.
It is cheeky. I mean, another way to look at it, though, is from Apple's point of view. Do Apple care? I don't think they do at all, because they're getting all that exposure.
Yeah, that's true. People are buying them and making videos. They've got,
And they sell them on the Refurb store for... The discount's pathetic. It's like 10% or something, or 15% on some of them. So... Yeah, I don't know. It's not something that we would do. I mean, I would return a product if I found I didn't like it, and I did do that with the new iPad Mini because it was making me have motion sickness. But I wouldn't do that normally. I wouldn't abuse that. It feels like an abuse to me, even though Apple is a multi-trillion-dollar company and can afford it.
Yeah.
But I'm not equating doing this with stealing not for a moment. But is it okay to steal something if the person's rich?
That is an interesting question, which I will not answer.
Well, I think it's not okay to steal something. It doesn't matter whether someone's rich or not. So I think I'm not saying that people are stealing something. I'm just saying that's the idea, the principle. Doing something that you think is wrong doesn't become right if the person you're doing it to or the company you're doing it to is rich. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think, I get your point, and I feel like other people will get your point, so that's fine.
But everybody has to make their own decision in these things. The thing I find upsetting is there's a lot of people who are starting out or trying to create tech channels on YouTube because they think they're going to make a load of money, and seriously, there's no money in this. Unless you get to 250,000 subs, then you might start getting
25p.
Yeah, the money that we get back from running the channel and selling the products that we get for review and things like that. I worked it out the other day how much we'd done since the start, and it's not even enough to pay your wages, Erin.
Oh, it's quite sad, isn't it?
It is pretty sad. But then we don't do it for that reason. Anyway, you get these folks, and they're going out and maxing out their credit card in the hope that they're going to get views. And I saw one chap had done this. He'd gone out and bought the Mac Studio M1 Ultra version. So what's that, $4,000?
Ooh, that's a dent. That's a dent.
And a day after he posted his video, it came up in my feed, but it obviously wasn't coming up in anyone else's because he didn't even have 100 views on the video. Can you imagine that?
That's going to hurt.
Yeah.
That's going to hurt a lot.
Anyway, there we go. It's probably time for us to get on to our main topic.
Woohoo! This is going to be exciting.
It is. Now, we did wonder what we would be able to talk about with Erin, because it's probably fair to say that whilst you are working with me on the channel, you're not a techie.
I'm not. No, that's fair to say.
I did wonder about talking about fashion. I mean, let's take your jumper, for example.
I have.
Which you were wearing yesterday. I'm just going to point that out as well.
I washed it. It's fine. I have the most beautiful jumper. Okay, and Dave.
And some people would call it a sweater.
Well, yeah. Well,
or a pullover.
It is a jumper, though, isn't it?
In our English vernacular.
Yeah. You know what's really exciting about it, Dave?
I honestly don't.
Okay. How much do you think this jumper cost? Just I guess it's a wool blend jumper. Okay. In this beautiful electric blue colour. So how much do you think it cost?
See, there's a couple of ways I can play this game with you.
Don't be mean. Give me your actual estimate.
Okay, let's be reasonable. It's a knitted jumper. It's obviously machine knitted. It's not like somebody somewhere is hand stitching it. No. So I think if you went in a shop, it would maybe be £40.
Okay, well, that's a bit over. So the original price of this jumper was £27.99.
Bargain.
Yeah. Ask me how much I bought it for.
How much did you buy it for?
£3.99. How brilliant is that? Absolute bargain.
Look at the joy. Look at the joy on it.
So happy.
Unbelievable. Well, good bargain hunting.
Yeah, I'm quite good at spending less.
If you spend less, you get to have more, though, don't you? Because you can buy more jumpers and different things.
It's a dangerous cycle.
I like the way, though, that you prioritise jumper purchases over, say, replacing your iPhone, which on every surface of it is damaged.
I was actually playing Minecraft on it the other day, and as I was playing my game, I actually got a small glass shard in my thumb, and I was like, "Oh, maybe it's time for an upgrade." But then I found this jumper, so the phone's going to have to wait another month.
Where did you get that phone from? Just out of curiosity, Erin.
Oh, I actually bought it secondhand.
Did you?
Yeah.
Did you? And what sort of condition was it in when you got it?
It was in perfect condition, actually.
Oh, wow, the previous owner of that phone must have really looked after it.
Yeah, really.
And how long did it take you to completely trash it?
I So to be fair, I've had it for like 2.5 years.
You are eking that thing out.
Yeah. So I think it's done quite well.
It has done well, yeah, for a phone. But
Yeah.
you need a new one.
I do.
And stop prioritising clothing over
Gosh,
phones.
it's such a beautiful jumper.
The problem is, though, that you're sat in front of people who are listening on Spotify, if indeed you are still listening. You won't be able to see this, but Erin has a blue jumper on, and she's sat in front of the blue part of the lighting background.
I'm blending in.
Yeah, and I've chosen red today, and I'm sat in front of the more reddish part of the background, and that might look like we thought about it and did it deliberately.
We planned it out.
But we didn't.
Deliberately.
Definitely didn't. Should we get back to our main topic?
We definitely should.
The point I was making is that you're not a techie, but you are a graphic designer. So if you're happy for me to share these details with the audience.
Go for it.
So Erin joined our web design firm. How long ago? 3.5 years.
Yeah.
And so Erin has been learning graphic design, and actually you're quite good at it.
Oh, thank you.
So well done. And you use a computer every day to do your work. So you're a professional. You literally earn your money on a computer doing computery stuff.
I do, yeah.
But you are in no way a techie.
I am a little bit inept when it comes to tech.
And language, it would seem, because I think the word is inept.
The more you know.
It's good. As long as, you make these mistakes and no one can hear them. You're not on a podcast with, thousands of people listening or anything.
That would be great.
So we thought it might be interesting to have a conundrum for you to solve. Mm-hmm. And that is buying your first computer, because you have never bought a computer.
I haven't, no.
And which I find quite amazing, because I have bought hundreds of computers. But you've never bought a computer.
No.
So if you were going out to buy a computer, and let's, for the sake of argument, let's suppose that you're looking for a computer that you can do your work on. Say we don't supply you with gear, or you're a freelancer or something. So you've got to go and buy a computer with the knowledge that you have now. Would you find that an easy task?
Yeah, I don't know if I'd get the best deal or the best computer for me, but I would be able to get a computer that I could do my work on. I feel like I'm quite confident with that.
Right. Interesting. So I posed the question to you, first of all, Mac or PC?
Mac.
Why do you say that?
Everything, I think working here is that everything I've had is Apple. My phone's Apple. I've grown up with an Apple phone, and that's all I've used for Googling and stuff. And
so it's purely familiarity for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which we get. I mean, I use both. I use Mac and PC, as you know. I like both things, but then I've grown up with both, so it's different.
That's fair.
But if all you know is Mac, then you're probably going to go and buy a Mac, aren't you?
Yeah.
Right. Now, on the surface of it, that would seem like an easy task, but I don't think it is. And I think for new people, so the reason why we thought this might be an interesting discussion is that I'm sure there are those out there in the audience who use computers. You're extremely proficient at using your computer. You're a professional, but you don't understand the inner workings of the computer, nor do you wish to, which we totally get as well. And, it's a challenge you've got all these computers now from Apple with M1, M1 this, M1 that, and do you really know what you're supposed to be buying? Can you get the best deal? So that's the kind of premise of the discussion.
Yeah.
So how would you go about this, Erin, if you've got to buy your first computer?
Without any knowledge, the first thing I'm going to do is go on my phone and I'm going to Google best computer for a graphic designer. Okay.
I'm going to hazard a guess that may not result in the best advice, but nonetheless, that is what a lot of people would do, I think.
Yeah. From doing that, you do get a vast amount of options. Okay. So did you pick any options? You've obviously gone through this process because we planned it yesterday, but what did you get back? The top option I got was the Apple iMac 24-inch.
Interesting. And does that appeal?
It does, because on social media that I've been scrolling through and stuff, for one computer that a lot of small business owners, they've always got these beautiful colourful Apple iMac 24 inches.
Now that is an interesting insight, because what that tells me is that Apple's marketing works.
Yes.
Because
100%.
you're buying into a design aesthetic
Mm-hmm.
that you identify with, and you think, I really like that.
Yeah.
And you've not even considered the spec yet. You're just saying that's the machine that I like. And I
It
bet you
looks so
already
pretty.
chose a colour, didn't you?
I have.
What colour?
I've decided to go for the blue.
Blue.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a very nice blue.
Okay.
Okay.
Does it bother you that it's a very nice blue on the back, but on the front it's all like washed out?
No, because I'm really into pastel colours, and pastels are like really in at the moment. So
Okay.
it all goes quite well.
Excellent. So, what jumper might you wear with a blue iMac?
My red one.
Red one. Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's keep it all in brand.
All right. Excellent. So, do you know anything about that computer?
I know off the bat it's got a good screen.
Yeah.
Okay. That's already sorted. It's colour accurate, got everything I need on that. And I also know to look for good amount of storage on it. I'm going to need storage, and it offers 256 gigabytes of storage, which is perfect because with all the files and stuff I'm going to be moving around, that'll do.
Okay.
Good.
So I'm just going to chip in there. So you're basing your storage requirements, though, on your experience of working here. And it's fair to say that we have NAS drives, servers, cloud storage, and other things where you're dumping enormous files. If you didn't have access to all of that, do you think 256 gigabytes would be enough?
I might need slightly more.
You might need slightly more. Yeah. And are you aware as well that you cannot upgrade the storage after the fact?
Oh, like not on your phone. You can't just upgrade it.
Well, you
That's
can
iCloud.
upgrade your iCloud. No,
Yeah.
you can't upgrade the actual internal storage.
Oh,
So
okay.
you can't go and buy a new hard drive and put it in.
Interesting.
So you have to get it right at the start. So it's even more pressure.
Great.
Unless you're going to use, like we do all the time, you do as well, Samsung T5 and T7 drives
Yes.
are our preference. But what I will say is on the Apple iMac, the M1, the performance of those drives will not be anywhere as good as it is on your Intel MacBook Pro.
Oh, interesting. So it'll be slow.
They are slower on the M1 by about 25% on average.
Interesting.
Yeah. So just, but you're never going to have been told any of that. What are the main factors that you would look for in the specification of the computer?
First of all, storage. Second of all, what I can like plug into it, because like you said, we use the T5.
Yeah.
T5 drives for extra storage and stuff.
So storage, I/O, ports, input, output,
Yes.
I/O.
Yeah.
You knew what that meant. I didn't need to explain it.
Yeah. And then, I'm happy that it's got a screen as well. And also this option, it also comes with a Magic Keyboard with Touch ID.
Nice.
Which I thought was
In a matching colour.
Yeah, in a matching colour, which I thought was a nice touch.
Yeah.
So, those are the things I go for. And it looks nice as well.
Okay. So things like, say, processor and memory, you're not worried about those so much?
I don't know what they do.
Okay. That's interesting.
Yeah.
You must know what the processor is in the Apple iMac, though.
What do you mean? Like, what it does?
No, the processor. Which model of processor does it have inside the Apple iMac?
Is it not just an Apple one? Is it an Intel thing?
No.
I do not know. Oh, did I write it down?
You might have done, I don't know.
No, I didn't.
This is amazing. Do you know how many of my M1 videos Erin has sat through and she's quite clearly asleep the entire time? What processor do you think it might have inside it?
Well, I don't know what you're asking. Like, is it supposed to be a number or is it a brand? Like, what?
I think this is quite interesting. So
Oh,
it's
the Thunderbolt thing.
No.
Oh, no idea.
I have to work with this every day. Apple M1 is the processor, if you like, inside the computer.
Right, the chip.
The chip.
If you'd
And
said, yeah.
I probably should have said chip as well, because the M1 is a system on chip. It's an entire computer on a chip, not a separate processor. So,
Okay.
yeah, I probably confused you.
You did.
The M1 chip, so you're getting 8 CPU cores and 8 GPU cores with the M1.
Mm-hmm.
Assuming you buy the right iMac, because the entry-level iMac has one of the GPU cores turned off.
Can you just turn it on?
No.
But it's in the machine
Yeah.
and you can't turn it on.
No, what happens is when they make the chips, they test the cores. And if any cores aren't performing up to specification, they switch them off.
Right.
And then they sell that as a different chip.
Oh,
All of the processor manufacturers do that.
interesting.
And Apple do it with various different models of the M1. So, I mean, you're making a decision based mainly on storage and ports. And I think, I mean, the storage thing has come from being a child of the smartphone generation, I think.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Whereas I grew up in a different era, and so I see things a bit differently. And I see memory as being way more important than storage.
That is very interesting to me. Yeah.
So how much memory is in the iMac 24 that you're looking at?
8 gigabytes unified memory.
Okay, and is that enough for what you do?
I don't know what memory does.
Interesting. And I wonder how many others are in the same boat. Because again, you think about the way Apple sells its smartphones. They'll tell you it's got an A14 Bionic or whatever in it, some chip, and you probably think, great, whatever, as long as it does what it does. The only thing that really matters to you is, can I get all my music on it?
Yeah.
The storage, right? And Apple never tells you how much RAM is in the phone.
No, not at all.
So it's probably never been an issue.
No.
All right. So I need to help you to understand how these things work. So a CPU or a processor works in conjunction with memory. So if you think of the computer is basically handling ones and zeros, and it's making decisions based on those. It's performing calculations and moving pieces of data around.
Yep.
That's all the computer is doing. Okay, so the data has to be stored somewhere that's accessible nice and quick for the processor. That's your RAM, your memory. Okay. So it sits there in the memory, and then the processor might have a sum to do. And it says, go and get this from this part of the memory and that one from that part of the memory, add them together and put them back in that bit of the memory. And that's what it's doing. So it's constantly moving data to and from the memory.
Right.
Okay. Your graphics processor is doing the same thing. In fact, even more so, because they perform huge numbers of calculations all the time.
Yeah.
In the case of the M1 and the unified memory, what that means is that one area of memory is used by both the CPU, so the processor of the computer, and the graphics processor. They're using the same bit of memory.
Okay.
So try and stay awake if you can.
I'm trying.
Does that make any kind of sense?
Yeah, I'm getting it.
Right. You might think of it like a manager asking people to go and get things from a warehouse. It's like, go and get this part and this part from the warehouse, come out here, join them together, and then go and put it back in a different part of the warehouse.
Yeah.
Right. So the warehouse is your memory banks, and the people doing the work are the processors.
Right.
Make sense?
Yep.
Okay.
Got it.
So you need to have sufficient amount of memory to move stuff around. Now, think about the kind of files that you work with. So just thinking about graphic design for a moment, you might be working with very large Illustrator files. You might be working with very large bitmap files, photographs, that kind of thing. All of that data has to be in the memory.
Okay.
In order for you to be able to work on it and for the computer to be able to perform all of those calculations.
Interesting.
And you also have an undo feature.
Yeah.
So the computer needs to be able to remember what it's done and step back, and it needs to be able to do all of that very fast. So all of that has to go into the memory. At the same time, your graphics card is then displaying that on a monitor. In the case of the iMac, it's 4.5K resolution. It's quite a lot of pixels.
Yeah.
So it's got to use a bit of memory to move those pixels around on the screen. So now that I've said all of that to you, how do you feel about 8 gigabytes?
I'm feeling like 8 gigabytes isn't going to be enough.
Yeah. And 8 gigabytes is enough for a lot of people, and for some of your workflow, you could definitely do it with 8 gigs. In fact, I would say you could probably do most of your workflow, but what will happen is the system will run out of memory.
Right.
And what does it do then?
Dies.
No, it doesn't die. Well, it will do, actually. I suppose it will do once it gets to the worst possible scenario of running out of memory, but it will start using the SSD, the onboard storage,
Right. Okay.
which is very fast. So it will take bits of memory it's not using, and it will put those onto the SSD, and then it will load them back in when it needs it. So everything starts slowing down, and you're also hitting your storage drive very hard.
Great.
And
so what I've done here is chosen the worst computer.
I think you probably... Well, no, I wouldn't have said it's the worst computer. I think you're quite wise in some of the things that you've chosen here. Although I know that you didn't choose it for those reasons. It was mainly because it was available in blue, right?
Well, yeah, very much.
But 8 gigs is probably not enough. And if you go up to 16 gigabytes, so think about it this way. If you're, just for argument's sake, suppose your graphics processor needs half of the memory to do what it's doing. That leaves you 4 gigabytes for the rest of the system.
Right.
Put the same task onto an M1 with 16 gigs of RAM. The graphics processor still needs 4 gigs, but now the rest of the system has 12 gigabytes.
Right. Okay.
So going from 8 to 16 on an M1 is a big upgrade.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting that that's the one that was suggested for most to me then as well.
It is. I mean, I'd traditionally say a graphic designer would have normally gone for the 27-inch iMac.
Ah, yeah.
But of course, Apple don't sell that anymore.
Oh, yeah, no, I forget. Mac Studio.
Was there any other computers that came up in the list?
Yeah, so the second one that I was suggested quite a lot was the Microsoft Surface Laptop 4.
Right.
Yeah.
What do you think about that one?
Yeah, I mean, personally, I wouldn't have gone for it because it's not Apple, and I'm a bit of an Apple fanatic. But at the same time, it comes with 8 gigabytes of RAM, 256 gigabyte, and it's a lot cheaper than like an Apple product. It's only £999. Only, yeah. Well, I mean, yeah. And yeah, I thought it was a decent option.
What I would say about that is it's a very nice machine, Surface Laptop 4, but what that is an entry-level spec. So you've got the Ryzen 5. I'm staring at Erin's notes here. I don't know this off the top of my head. A Ryzen 5, is that 4680U?
Yep.
So I think the U chips are the low-powered ones. So it's not going to be anywhere as fast as an M1.
Interesting.
And 8 gigs of RAM on a traditional PC system is a lot worse than 8 gigs of RAM on an Apple M1 because of the way the unified memory works on the Apple. So I think you would be very disappointed with that laptop very quickly. I mean, I know it comes with the pen and that
It's
obviously
portable.
has appeal, and it's portable, but you're not going to get mega long battery life.
Interesting. Very interesting.
Not with the kind of work that you would be doing. In fact, it just wouldn't do it. You were trying to edit yesterday on your, what's this, a 6-core i7 MacBook Pro, Intel MacBook Pro, and it was handling some of it quite well, but other bits of footage it wasn't too happy with, was it?
No, as soon as I started trying to edit some B-roll, it was going 2 frames per minute.
So weirdly, it handled the 6K B-RAW just fine, Blackmagic RAW, but the 4K H.264 footage, it just couldn't do it. And we had to generate some proxy media. And how long did your battery last, incidentally?
So it was on 100% for an hour, and then it died.
That's a 16-inch MacBook Pro. That's the Intel one. Died in an hour. Yeah, that's amazing. I was doing some fairly heavy editing on mine, and I didn't start at 100%, but I was still on about 70% when yours died.
Ridiculous.
Using the M1 Max, and that is the amazing performance of these things. So I don't think the Microsoft Surface laptop would be a good shout. I think you'd be really upset with that, actually. I think it would frustrate you.
Yeah.
Knowing the kind of work that you do.
Yeah,
I'm not saying it's a bad laptop, but not for you.
Not for me. Not for me. And then third option that I've seen quite a lot is the Apple Mac Mini.
Okay.
Which I know you talk about a lot. So yeah, you've got the Apple M1 chip with 8-core CPU, 8-core GPU, 16-core neutral engine.
Did you just say neutral engine?
Is it not neutral?
No, you've added a T in there. That's neural.
Oh.
Like brainwaves. Think brainwaves.
Neural engine. It's got, again, the 8 gigabyte unified memory, which I'm now realizing isn't enough, but it has got 512 gigabytes of SSD storage.
Yeah.
And Ethernet and stuff, and that's £899.
Okay. And I would say that the Mini is a great deal, but you don't have a screen, do you? So what would you
No.
do about that?
Well, I first of all need also a keyboard and a mouse.
Of course,
So
yeah.
Magic Keyboard with Touch ID, because that was a nice touch. £149. Magic Mouse, £99. Then the screen that I picked out was the HP FHD IPS monitor in white, and that's £179, and altogether that's £1,326.
Interesting. What do you think about the monitor that you've chosen there?
I didn't really do too much research into it. I just typed in good monitor for graphic design and that one popped up.
Okay, so FHD means 1080p resolution, which is not very high. So that's less than a quarter of the resolution on the iMac on a 27-inch screen. So you've got a larger screen with much less resolution, which means you're going to see every one of those pixels. And
Interesting.
which actually, I say that though, actually that some designers want that. For certain types of design, that is quite useful. But it's the price point that gets me, because of course your frame of reference, well, you don't really have one because you never bought one before.
Nope.
But here in the office, we use Dell UltraSharp monitors,
Yeah.
or we have a couple of Apple Thunderbolt displays and some iMacs, but those monitors are more expensive because they're color calibrated.
Yeah.
And you need it to be color correct. And you mentioned that for the iMac because you knew the iMac had a color correct screen. So I don't know about the HP because I don't know which model that is, but at that price, I'm guessing it probably isn't that great.
It's not going to live up to what I need.
No.
Interesting.
So, and you're already at more money than you'd quoted for the iMac.
iMac, yeah. And that comes with the screen.
Yeah. So I think the Mac Mini is a great choice if you've already got keyboard and mouse and monitor.
Yeah.
And you just want to slot something in to your existing workflow. But for you, I don't think that's the right way to go.
No.
So storage, I just want to mention as well, as you might not know this, but as you go up in the size of storage, it also speeds up the storage.
Oh.
And it also increases the lifespan of the storage.
Oh, that's cool. That's handy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you probably do want to have a slightly bigger SSD. I'd say 512 is probably the minimum.
Okay. I'm going to throw a question at you now then. Okay. So with my options, probably not the best options I could have gone for. So put yourself in my shoes. What computer would you recommend or would you buy personally?
Okay, difficult choice. Let's stick with desktop because we haven't even approached that question yet of desktop or laptop. And I find it interesting that you've kind of gone with desktop. But I would say, actually, the iMac 24-inch is not a bad shout.
Okay.
It's not going to be great for video editing work that you do.
No.
Because of the size of the codecs that we use, but it will do it. And where it will be slow is on the final render, but then you don't always render the final video anyway on your machine. So I think it would cope with it, but it needs to be 16 gig.
Okay.
And I would have said that you would want more storage in. If you're working with video files, you know how we work. We move stuff between the NAS device and on various drives and things. It's useful to have space on your machine where you can temporarily store things to edit. So I'd probably go for a terabyte of storage.
Interesting.
And 16 gigs, and that's going to push the price
Okay.
up.
So, but at the same time, that's going to be worth it in the long run if you're going to get your workflow more speedy.
It is, but if you're going to push the price up that high, you then have to start thinking about the Mac Studio. And if you already had a monitor, keyboard and mouse, then the Mac Studio would be an absolute no-brainer for your workflow, the M1 Max version, because it will do absolutely everything, including all the video rendering, graphic design, anything that you threw at that, the entry-level spec of the Mac Studio, anything you threw at it with your workload, it will do with ease. And what that means is that you've got future-proofing.
Yeah.
So 3 years down the line, when we maybe have to start working with 8K or something, you've got a machine that will still be able to do it. Whereas the M1 is not going to be quite so happy with that.
So what is the difference between the M1 and the M1 Max in the studio then?
Okay, that's a good question. So when Apple designed the original M1, they put various types of their cores, processor cores together. And they've got two different types, basically. There's a performance core. So that gets all the power, all the electric, and it motors through tasks. And then you have an efficiency core, which doesn't use very much power and does lightweight tasks.
Okay.
And the efficiency core is about a third of the performance core, something like that.
Interesting. Okay.
So on the M1, there's 4 of each type.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, then they go up to M1 Pro, and what they did then was they changed that and they put in 2 of the efficiency and 8 of the performance. So you effectively get double the performance.
Double it.
But only when it comes to tasks that can make use of all of the processor cores.
Okay.
If you're doing something that can only use one of the cores, then there'll be no difference in speed between them.
Right.
Okay. Then you've got the M1 Max. And the M1 Max is the same as the M1 Pro, but they've added more graphics cores to it and more memory bandwidth. So everything just gets faster and bigger and better.
Okay.
But it seems that the M1 Pro and the M1 Max are very different to the M1 in the things like USB works faster. The Thunderbolt, they support Thunderbolt 4, whereas the M1 doesn't. It's USB 4. So there are subtle differences between them. The M1 is more than enough machine for most users. And like I said, you could do most of your workflow on it, but you would want 16 gigs.
Interesting.
But Mac Studio would be better. But let's come back to the question, because you've got your laptop here. And this is a 16-inch Intel MacBook Pro. And before this, you had was it a 13-inch MacBook Pro?
Possibly.
And you used to do your design work on your 13-inch MacBook Pro.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you're not particularly bothered about having a big screen.
No, not at all. It's not an issue for me because you can zoom in.
You're right. Okay. So, and also I know that on your desk is a 27-inch iMac with way more performance than this thing, and you never use it, do you?
No, it scares me.
It scares you. Excellent. It's just sat there doing nothing. It's so frustrating.
If it was in a nice pastel colour, then maybe
you probably would use it. Yeah, yeah, I know. So I actually think that you would have been better off with a laptop anyway. Particularly if you're buying into that whole Apple life, sitting at the coffee shop doing your design with your mocha latte.
I don't like mocha.
No? What's your brew of choice?
Iced caramel latte with oat milk.
With what now?
Oat milk.
Oat milk?
Oat milk.
How do you milk an oat?
I would love to tell you. If I figure it out, I'll let you know.
Okay, excellent. Yeah, I think a laptop would be the best shout. And this is where then suddenly it's not quite such a simple decision, because it now comes down to money.
Yes. Yeah.
But an M1 Pro, 14-inch M1 Pro, I think they're knocking on the door of £2,000. But that's a lot of performance and a lot of laptop for the money.
Yeah.
And I don't think either of the M1 laptops, the MacBook Air or the 13-inch MacBook Pro, would entirely fit your workflow. But I think you could get away with an M1 Pro.
Okay.
So
interesting.
Well, by the time you've specced up the iMac to the level we were talking about, you're probably at the point of being able to get the 14-inch M1 Pro.
Yeah.
And that would be a better machine. So there you go.
That's fair.
But it's good that you don't have to go and buy your own laptop, isn't it?
No.
I found that quite interesting, actually, to try and see things from your point of view. I take it for granted, that I understand all of this stuff. It must be an absolute nightmare if you don't know these things and you go into the Apple Store or whatever, and those guys... I mean, the difference is I'm providing you with advice, knowing exactly what your workflow is and exactly the kind of work you do, but they're not going to know that.
No.
And even if you tell them, they still won't know, and then they've got to give you advice, and then you've got to make a decision.
Yeah.
So you will just end up picking the one you like the look of, won't you?
I will, definitely.
That you can afford. And here's another interesting thing as well, which you may not know, but if you go into the Apple Store, I mean, is that where you would go to buy it?
Yeah, or you just do it online.
Right.
But no, actually, now thinking about it, probably best to talk to somebody before I bought it. So yeah, probably go into the Apple Store.
So you go into the Apple Store, right? They won't have any 16 gig models there. They only sell the 8 gigabyte model in the Apple Store, and other retailers would be the same as well.
Yeah.
So you have to custom order it online. If you want the 16 gig model, you can't just go in and pick one up.
No.
That's a bit annoying.
You also can't get the iPhone SE.
Can you not?
I popped in this weekend just to have a little browse, and I was like, oh, maybe I'll maybe I'll pick one up. They didn't have them in. Like, they had like a sample one, but like, you couldn't
actually buy
go
it.
home with it, kind of thing. And I was like, oh, okay, bye.
So they have been quite popular then, as it turns out.
Interesting. It might have just been that store, to be fair, but I feel like they should keep all of their stores equally stocked.
So you just went clothes shopping instead, I suspect.
I did.
Good skill. Anyway, I hope you found that interesting. I found it interesting, looking at things from a different perspective. It's really hard for me because I've grown up with computers.
I've just grown up with phones.
Yeah, that's so different. You were born after the internet was invented.
I was indeed.
So you don't even know about the time. Have you ever visited a public library?
Oh yeah. I'm not completely. Yeah. We used to have like school computers and stuff, but like I used to use it to print off a photo for my art project, and that was it. And I didn't even look twice at it because all the keys were sticky.
What were they doing in your? Let's move on. Let's move on. I think we've come to that time where it is indeed time for the Rumour Mill.
The Rumour Mill.
No, we've got a jingle. You don't need to sing one.
Oh.
I just need you to record something, though, to put over the top of the jingle.
Okay.
Constant geekery, you already know the name. Turn the volume up, this is
Erin.
and Dave. What rumours have you heard? Let us test the claim. Are they facts or are they lies? Let us play the game. Let's talk about the tech. Come and see what is up next. Now you're tuned in to the Rumour Mill. Tell me, is it true? Are they doing it for views? You're now tuned in to the Rumour Mill. Well, let's find out. Nowhere to hide now. You're now tuned in to the Rumour Mill. Woo!
That was an amazing jingle.
That was really good.
I really enjoyed that. I've only got one rumour that I've dug out this week, but I think it's an interesting one.
Okay.
And it is something that we talked about on the podcast a few weeks ago. And this is that LG and Apple are apparently collaborating on foldable displays.
Interesting. What, like a computer display or like a tablet?
Well, we don't know. I mean, LG worked with Lenovo, and we talked about that computer, the folding PC.
Yes.
You might remember that. Yeah. They call it the X1 Fold, the ThinkPad. They're also apparently working with HP on a 17-inch foldable notebook.
Right.
And then they said that, I don't know, this came from, can't even remember where it came from, a website called The Elec. And apparently they're also working with Apple. Now, I would guess, I can't see Apple making a folding laptop, as in a folding screen laptop.
No, I can't see Apple doing anything foldy screen kind of thing, to be fair.
I'm sceptical about it, but I think it definitely wouldn't happen on the Mac because Apple has always resisted touchscreen support on the Mac.
Yeah, yeah, that's true, actually.
So I can't see it happening on the Mac, but could it be a foldable iPad or iPhone?
Perhaps. If they make a foldable iPhone, I'm getting it.
Are you?
I adore what he does for is it Samsung?
Yeah.
That folded phone. I think it is the best thing I've ever seen. I adore it.
They do. I have seen one in the flesh, so to speak, and I have to say it is a very nice looking thing.
It's really cool, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's very nice. It's very customizable as well.
But how do you mean?
Like you can like program like it to look however you want. You know how with Apple you've got like a certain layout you can have to stick with. They've got like all different kinds of like widgets and like more. I'd say.
Well, that's Android, isn't it? But you've just been talking about how you're an Apple fanatic and you've always had Apple. Would you actually go to Android?
If somebody were to give me a Android fold phone for free, then yeah, I'd 100% ditch Apple.
I think a lot of people would do that if they were given one for free. When they got to part with their own money, though.
Yeah, they are like £2,000.
Are they really? No, they're not that much.
They are.
No, I thought it was about 1,500 for the big one and about 1,000 for the smaller one. You're actually looking it up as well.
I'm actually looking it up.
Like you don't believe me.
Oh, it's cheaper. Okay, I think when it first came out, it was more expensive though.
They have been, and they have been heavily discounted recently.
£899. Oh no.
Yeah, but that's the flip one.
The flip one.
Yeah, so you've got the one that opens like a book, and then the flip one.
The flip one.
Yeah. I don't know. I'd quite like to have a folding phone.
Look
but
at it in purple.
you see, there you are with the colours again. I don't think this is a wise basis on which to purchase tech
But it looks
costing that
so
much money.
beautiful.
You'd never spend that much money on a phone.
No, to be fair, I wouldn't.
You just wouldn't.
No. If I did buy like a brand new phone, it would be an Apple phone.
Why?
Just because I'm used to Apple and like everything I have is Apple, and I like how when you get a new Apple phone, like it automatically transfers everything over to it. Because, yeah.
But I suspect Android offers a lot of those features, if not all of them.
Yeah, I just prefer Apple though.
Yeah, and that's fine. That's fine. Everyone has their own preferences. What do we think about the rumour anyway? Can we see Apple making a folding iPad or a folding phone? You know, usually we grade these, don't we?
Yeah. I'm going to put it at an orange because it's something I'd like to see, but I'm not sure how plausible it actually is.
Okay. Well, I think is LG or some other display company working with Apple on folding displays? I'd say that's a green. I think Apple are definitely exploring it. Will they bring a product to market anytime soon? I'm going to have to go amber on that, bordering on red.
Yeah, that's fair.
I think it will take some time. And the reason I think that is because Samsung had a lot of problems with theirs, and early adopters have certainly paid a high price.
Yeah.
Lots of broken folds out there. And Apple has also had a history of doing that kind of thing, and I don't think they'll have any appetite to do it again.
No. Very interesting.
It's good. It's been really nice to talk with you on the podcast today, Erin, instead of Pete.
Thanks. Thanks for letting me.
Pete, hope you're feeling better soon, mate. I know you've been really rough, and it's not the same in the office without you. It's just much better. I had to do it.
Fair. Very well.
Someone's been hiding rubber ducks in our office as well,
Yeah.
like miniature ones, tiny ones. So whoever's done that, well played. Keep spotting new ones.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
It's going to keep appearing.
Was it you?
It was not me. Can't confirm.
Really though?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Good. Well, that's probably time to end. Thank you very much for watching. If you're on YouTube, it's youtube.com/The Constant Geekery Podcast. If you're not on YouTube and you want to see our lovely faces, and by ours I mean Erin's. And I don't know how Pete's going to be next week. So if we do have a podcast, it'll probably be us again, or we might skip a week and wait for Pete to get back. I don't know. It depends whether we can think of something interesting to talk about, Erin.
Yeah.
Not fashion. We're not talking about fashion.
One day.
No.
One day.
No.
Dang it.
Cheerio, folks.
Cheerio.